of us talk, the question really is, how many of us communicate? The objective of good communication is to create mutual understanding. But in order to do that, what we'd like to talk about is how do you develop a mindset for great communication? Because all of us realize that communication really is not what is said, but what is heard. And it takes a person to think correctly about how to communicate and what to communicate. Whether it is a group situation, whether it's one-on-one, or whether it's one-to-many, the principles are basically the same. It's how to talk so people will listen. And what I've discovered is that in this course that we're about to take on, there are 3 questions that every single person is asking when you communicate to them. The first question is, can I trust you? The second question is, do you care for me personally? And the third question is, do you know what you're talking about? So the objective of our course really is to answer all 3 questions. Whether you're a salesperson, whether you're an auditor in a large group, or whether you're the one doing the communication in a small group, the questions remain the same. People are always sizing you up to figure out whether you connect with them, whether they can trust you, whether you care for them, and whether you know what you're talking about. So with that in mind, here's what we want to do. We want to answer those questions. I think the best way we can do that is to turn to the ancient people who long ago said the goal of all communication is really to persuade somebody, to move them to action with proper reflection. So how do you persuade somebody to make a decision, to overcome initial inertia? How do you do that? Well, a man named Aristotle said many years ago, and you probably remember this from your high school public address and rhetoric class, he said there are 3 things involved in how you persuade someone. You must be a person of ethos, a person of pathos, and a person of logos. And what did he mean by those 3 Greek terms? Well, obviously, we get the term ethic from the Greek term ethos. He said that you must be a person that is trustworthy, that comes across honestly, that when you speak, other people sense that I'm looking at the real deal, the real McCoy. But secondly, he said, and it's always in this order, you must be a person that communicates caring or understanding. You must be a person of compassion, or as he called it, pathos. We get the term empathy from that, or sympathy. You become a fellow feeler with your audience. People are continually looking to ask the question, are you relating to me? Do you understand me? Because if you're aloof and far off and you're disconnected with me, even though I trust you, I will soon not listen to you. But there's a third one, and we tend to think this is the essence of communication, to convey a message. And while that's extremely important, it comes third in the order. So if I don't trust you, I stop listening. If I think you don't really care for me and it's presentation fatigue, I'll stop listening. And finally, I'll listen to your message because I want to know something. I'm curious about this. I show up because I want to grow. Whatever their objective is, they want the message to be clear, accurate, and relevant. And so the question then is logos, logic, content, pathos, empathy or sympathy. And then you have ethos, a person of character, a person that can be trusted. So those 3 questions and those 3 answers move us into the area of how do you do all that? And that's what we're going to be talking about. I think the best-selling book of all times is a trustworthy and reliable book that gives us an answer from a guy named Paul, who at the end of his life said, let me sum up what I mean by good communication. And in a book that he wrote to a particular church in Thessalonica, he said in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 2 through 13, the following principles. He said, first of all, I came to you without flattering speech. I came to you without attempting to butter you up, so to speak. No pretense. What you see is what you get. So there was a sense of genuineness about Paul. And he came without a pretext for greed, he says there. In other words, I want to give to you. I don't want to just take from you. But then he moves from there to talking about how he dealt with the people. He said, I viewed you as a tender mother who nurses her child. Tender, picturesque language. And I worked with you day and night so as not to be a burden to any of you. I developed, he said, a fond affection for you. Notice the metaphors. Notice the powerful compassion that he shows there. First of all, he says, I came to you without pretense. That's called character. Secondly, I came to you working day and night to show you how much I cared for you, my compassion. And then he says, and only in this order, in verse 13 and 14 of that particular chapter, he says this, and when I presented to you the Logos, the truth, you received it and you believed it. So the ancient text really tells us exactly what we want to know, that the answers for, can I trust you, is found in character. The answer for, do you care for me, is found in pathos or compassion for the people. The old adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, is absolutely true. The reason cliches become cliches is because there's a kernel of truth in that. And then finally, when the fuel of ethos and pathos are there, we ready our hearts to receive the message itself. And we receive it and we believe it. Here's the deal. You have to be believed in order to be heard. And that is a principle we're going to carry all the way through this particular course. So let me sum up what I'm really talking about here. It's a motto that I embrace strongly. And I would say, if you can remember nothing else from developing a mindset for how you communicate, because as you well know and I know, communication process consists of three things. It consists of the speaker, the message, and the audience. The mindset of the speaker is crucial. So here's what we're talking about. Every speaker I know, whether it's in sales, whether it's a preacher, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a coach, whether it's a parent, they understand these principles. Be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't imitate anybody else. Learn from them, adopt their principles, but don't emulate their practice. Be yourself. You're a unique person, authentic. People go wild over real people. Remember that. Be yourself. It's the most attractive. There's another place in the scripture that says, you are the message read by all people. It's not what you're saying over here necessarily, or even how you look and how you sound. They're sizing you up as a person and saying, if I believe in you and believe what you're saying, here's the way they usually net it out. That person said what they mean and they mean what they say. That's the key. That's the catalyst that explodes it all. So be yourself uniquely. Fingerprints all over that message. You. Secondly, love your audience. Love your audience. It's pretty simple, but very hard to do. But it really means get your eyes off yourself. It means that you're there to give to somebody else, to provide a motivation for them to change. I am motivated at the end of my life. I'm 78 years of age. As I look back, I'm saying all of this comes together for one purpose, and that is to influence people. Because leadership is basically influence. That's all it is. But love is the name of the game. There's a great author in the scripture. At the beginning of his life, he was called the Son of Thunder. I mean, he was strong and he was sweet and he was sensitive, but he was a bullhorn. At the end of his life, he said, I became a gentle person where my main message was just love them, my little children. Just love them. Love is the name of the game. Not always easy when you're focused upon yourself. So get out of yourself, be yourself, love your audience, and third, do your homework. There's the logos. Because preparation precedes presentation every single time. And the better you know it, the better they will receive it. I've always said this, whenever you speak, somebody sweats. Either you do before you speak or they do during the speech. It takes hard work, preparation. Show yourself unashamed as a workman who divides truth and then is able to communicate it in a clear, accurate, and relevant way. Simple, sweet, and strong is the way I put it. But it takes all three of those things to do that. I want to close it out by giving you a word picture. I call it the communication rocket, and it summarizes everything we've just said. If you would picture a rocket ship about ready to be launched, at the top of the rocket, there's the payload, what we would call the message. It's what you want to get across to connect with your audience, what you want them to remember. But in order to get it out of gravitational pull and into orbit, which is the mission, you must have a lot of power that drives that rocket. If you will, as you picture this, at the top is your logos. It's your content. It's the message you want to drive home. But to get it off the launch pad, you've got to have a lot of fuel. Similar to this culture where there's thousands of messages, how does your message stand out? Well, it stands out, as we've talked about already, by the fuel of two things. Number one, the fuel of ethos, your character, and second, the fuel of pathos, your compassion. Both of those take the rocket and fire the engine. And so all three are involved. In fact, I submit to you that all three must be congruent. Your logos lines up with your pathos and your ethos. It's called congruency in communication. And that's where belief happens. If they're disconnected and they don't line up, a person doesn't really believe and doesn't embrace what you're saying. Now, here's the issue. If you were to give a percentage to each one of those, ethos, pathos, and logos, how would you divide it up, taking 100%? This is the way it's divided up, and this is amazing, but it tells you this principle. How you look and how you sound has more impact on people than what you say. Let me repeat that. How you look and how you sound has more impact on people than what you say. Let's prove that. The top of the rocket is what you're saying. It's the verbal. The underneath side is the nonverbal. It's how you say what you say, and people sense that. They pick that up. It's nonverbal. They sense whether you care. They sense whether you have character in order to ignite the payload. Here's the point. Dividing it up into percentages, it's 7% logos, 37% tone of voice, and 56% body language, totaling 100%. You've got to line it on up in order to believe. Now you say, you're kidding. The 7% of the message that I've worked on and prepared and done my homework, that's all? No, it isn't. When the rocket fires, objective to get it into orbit, what happens to the bottom part of the rocket? It jettisons. And what do you want to continue on into orbit? The payload. So the 7% becomes 100%. This is the mindset of a great communicator. We're going to stop here because what we want to do throughout this course is to keep it short and simple, because the goal of all communication is to be clear. I can be wrong when I communicate, I just can't be confusing. So I want to be clear, and that's what we want to do. Each of the segments that follow this are going to be 15 to 17 minutes long, and we hopefully will shoot a rifle, not a shotgun, so you can be able to absorb this, learn it quickly, and apply it to your life. So that's what we're going to do. A mindset, extremely important. As a person thinks, so he or she is. It's important to think right in order to do right. And that is exactly what's coming next.